the cloud. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my slideshow now. Yeah, okay, great. All right, so I've got you guys a little off to the side. So again, I won't be able to see things, so feel free to interrupt me. Um, so this is the second session, as I said before. There we go. For the Mighty Moraine Man, but the advice and information we're going to talk about applies to any race, even though we're going to be showing the actual some pictures of the actual site. Just visualize yourself wherever you've swum before, in the beach or open water. So tonight, what I want to cover is not so much swim technique. Nobody has a perfect swim stroke. We could meet for, one-on-one or group swim lessons every week for the next 10 years, and you still wouldn't have a perfect swim stroke. I don't have a perfect one. Joella doesn't. Michael Phelps doesn't. So tonight is less about, trying to perfect your swim, but gaining confidence through understanding what the environment might be like, specifically at the race site and specifically for open water swimming. It also involves some mindset. So just being aware of what to expect helps reduce anxiety. Some things that we can do between now and the race in 3 weeks to help yourself prepare, both physically, but also mentally with your awareness, some things that you can practice in a swimming pool before the race. Um, and expectations, I mentioned that already. The more that you can familiarize yourself with what's coming up, the less stress there will be. For example, if I am going to, let's say I'm going to a concert or a Penguins game downtown, if I know exactly where I'm going to park, I have a much better time the day of the concert or the day of the race because I know, oh, there's a parking lot right here. I'm not going to have to spend time and energy between finishing work and getting to the concert or the game on time, wondering where I'm going to park. Time parking is a different thing, but I know there's a lot here. There's always spaces. I'm going to be prepared for that part. So the more exposure you can get, even if that's as simple as driving to Lake Arthur and looking at it from your driver's seat and then driving away, that's an example of the type of exposure that will reduce anxiety on race day. So the more comfortable and familiar you can get with the environment, the better. Um, so quick activity, you can use the chat for this. I want you to think about your swimming. I do this in swim lessons. So you guys can read the questions, start answering now if you want, but I'll give a little background. I want you to describe what your swimming feels like to you in 1 to 3 words, just a short phrase. Answers like these I have listed here are real answers that I've had from swimmers before. So go ahead and just type the first thing that comes to mind. And these run the gamut. I've seen people that, as a swim teacher, I would say are not good swimmers, but they say it's so peaceful when I swim. I'm not going to take their peace away. I'm going to help them continue to feel peaceful if that's what they want. I had a swimmer tell me that it feels like I'm at war. What was really interesting about this guy is that he actually had been to war several times. He had fought in, I believe it was Afghanistan. He had 2 or 3 deployments. I had him swim 25 yards and I said, "What does it feel like?" He says, "It feels like I'm at war." Like that guy really struggled with his swimming. Um, Answers are all around the board. So let's see. Okay, so slow and steady. Part fish, nice, Merrick. Peaceful, wonderful. Yeah, so that says a lot about kind of how you are also framing the swim event. If swimming feels peaceful to you, you're probably going to want to have a approach to the race that's going to maintain that peace. Um, Okay, Jason, exhausted and discouraged. Thank you. So, what we want to do with someone like you, and Lena, it's hard for me to assign any sort of emotional value to saying that you feel slow, or that's what it feels like to you. Um, I'm slow compared to most people, uh, and that's not what I focus on during the swim. I always want to get faster, but race day for me is not about that. So, take what works for you from the next couple of slides we're going to have here. Jason, what I want to do for you, hopefully by the end of this, is that you can recognize some things that are just common for humans that explain why you're exhausted. Um, it might help you feel less discouraged when you understand why swimming feels this way for a lot of people. And then again, just getting exposed to some of the things that you can do and expect. Whoops, I went the wrong. For the open water swim portion, is going to help you feel better. So I have this loosely divided into three parts. The first one is sort of the physical race environment. Second one is sort of getting to know your own internal environment with swimming. And then the third part is we're going to have the specific strategies. All right, I've mentioned this before, some of these things before. This is an actual photo of Lake Arthur where the race is set. This view here, 2 seconds here. I need to get the dog's attention. All right. I have trained him that when I yell at him for barking in the window, he comes over to get scratches. So he's right here. Um, so this is Lake Arthur right here. This is a picture, I believe from a midsummer event that Joella has, but this is the part of the lake where the practice swim is. And I've got another picture of that later. The race is on the other side of this bridge, so it's actually a different entrance to the park. So an example of things that you may want to be familiar with before race day. And again, substitute your race if you're doing something else. Lake Arthur is a very large lake in a very large state park, and there are multiple entrances to get to different parts of it. And the lake is shaped like a caterpillar with, or a dragon with all kinds of legs and wings and parts sticking out. So you need to know exactly where you're headed. So if you have time, if you can't make the practice swim next Monday, at the very least, just see if you can drive to the park and just kind of look around, make sure you know the right entrance. Also, swimming in a race, swimming in open water can feel like you're jostling in a crowded elevator. I think that's probably one of the better things to try and describe as far as the feeling that you can sometimes get is you're in an, quote unquote enclosed space. That lake is really big, but when you're on the race course, you've got a path to follow. So everybody's trying to get in that same space. There's, imagine you're in an elevator and you're just trying to, like, without using your hands, just try to create space for yourself. And so there's lots of elbows, right? And you might be leaning into other people. And it can feel like that, but it's not very productive to try and get more space in an elevator because there's just not a lot of room in there and you're burning energy, you're using up oxygen. And I'm not just explaining it this way to try and make people think of swimming as feeling claustrophobic or, a situation you really don't want to find yourself in. I'm explaining it this way because the contrast when you're swimming in a lake is completely different than being in an enclosed space. So on one hand, people get this experience, this closed in jostling experience with elbows and knees when they are swimming in open water, but it doesn't have to be that way. And this is something I practice when I have swimmers in groups at Masters, or if you come to open water swim, we can do some of these exercises. Number one, the more relaxed you can be while you're swimming, the safer that you'll be. When you're stressed, you don't have access to the part of your brain that can think rationally. You don't have access to your skills that are not hardwired. Like if you're panicked on land and you're in the woods and you think you see Bigfoot, you panic and you run. Running is kind of hardwired into humans. Humans did not evolve swimming. So swimming is very foreign to us, even if you're on a competitive swim team and swim 5 days a week, it's still a foreign environment. And if you are still learning skills to go from that struggling feeling to that peaceful feeling, if you start to experience fear, anxiety, or panic while you're in the water in the race, you're not going to be able to access those skills that you've been trying to develop that feel new to you. Oh, I think I know how to do the recovery. The swim I had today felt really good. I hope I can do it again. When the skills are like in that area of learning, you want to be able to access them as much as possible and actually direct your movements. You want to be able to think to yourself, okay, I'm getting a little tired. I'm going to slow down my stroke rate because that's how I get more relaxed. If you can't think that, have that thought process, you're not going to be able to execute that thought process. And if you're fearful or panicked or have anxiety, you won't be able to think that way. Your only thought for your brain is to get you to safety and protect your, your access to oxygen. Um, so again, I'm not describing this to try and instill fear. I'm describing this to try and paint the contrast in what's possible for you. Um, you need to know that it's possible, and then you need to sort of practice some of these things. And the course itself is very safe. There are lifeguards. There's at least one motorboat that can get around the course quickly. There are kayaks. There are stand-up paddle boards. There are observers. There are buoys in the lake, the places where you turn around. And I don't know if you can see it on this picture. I don't see it, but the buoys will look just like this yellow one and just like this orange one back here. And at the bottom of each of those buoys, there should be a floaty, like a noodle, and or a blow up swim buoy. If you guys know what those are, I think I have a picture of one. Those are there for you to use if you need it. You can stop anywhere on the course during a triathlon swim and rest. If there's a kayak, you can grab the kayak and hold on to it. The only rule is that you can't get any assistance moving forward on the course. So you can't grab a kayak and hang on there while the kayaker continues to paddle towards the finish line. The kayaker's job is there for safety and to help you. And when you grab onto the boat, they're just hanging out, trying to help you relax and be comfortable. Anybody have any questions or comments about that so far? Ed, did you wave or something? I just turned the faces on. Okay.
No, sorry.
No, no problem.
Well, actually, a question though. I mean, like, what's the water temperature like there? I've never swam in that
Oh,
park.
yeah, I think I have a note on that, but I'm glad you mentioned it. The water temperature can vary. Maybe it was 2 springs ago. I think it was like 57 or 58 on race day. At this time of year, it's supposed to rain for the next 2 weeks and be cool. That practice swim that's on May 11th is 2 weeks from now. So that practice swim is probably going to be pretty cold. Um, so that's another reason it's important so you get an opportunity to get in the water and feel the water. But even that 1 week between May 11th and May 18th, 17th, the race, if we've got nice sunny weather that week, the water temperature can go up several degrees. So she'll measure it on race day morning. In midsummer, this lake can be 78 degrees. I don't know if it gets up to 80, but it can be pretty warm. So there's a very wide range. Most people will wear a wetsuit. So if you're a newer swimmer or a newer triathlete or never done one before, you're not required to have a wetsuit. A lot of people will use them. I don't use one, but I've got a lot of experience, and I actually, um, my swim technique and my body habitus mean that when I do wear a wetsuit, my swimming is worse. So I actually feel worse in a wetsuit and I don't wear one, but that's not the case for everybody. Did I answer your question?
It did. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Anybody else while we're pausing here? Merrick, do you have is that a parrot or a parakeet?
Yeah, he's a macaw,
Aw,
small macaw.
what's his name?
Yeah, Kazoo. He's being a
Kazoo.
real pain.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
really cute. How old is he?
he's going to be 30 this year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Is he doing the
yeah,
triathlon?
yeah. He's going to do the bike part.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, let's move on here. Okay, so more familiarity with the race environment. This is the actual lake. So this is what I meant by the lake has all these parts. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse when I move it around. I've got a big blue dot here when I look at it, but these are all arms and legs of the lake that stick out. And all these roads, this is 79 right here. Think this is 422. I'm not 100% sure. There is a road right here. There's a little bridge there. There are roads over here. So these are all potential ways to get to the lake. The main entrance that we're going to want to use is off of 79 here. This is the lakeshore area is what it's called. There will be race directions on the website. But again, if you drive up to the lake and get off at this exit, which is where the practice swim is, you are very far from the race start. The actual race course for the swim. Oops, okay. I think I've mentioned most of these before. If you can't get in for the swim, at least touch the water. like, because then you can have a relationship with the water rather than having that first time that you've touched the water in Lake Arthur be on race day morning when you're about to start your swim wave. It may sound kind of weird to some people, but I'm a really, really strong believer in mindset, and in doing everything we can to minimize anything new on race day. And if you've never been to a lake, never been in the water, you don't know what color the water is, you don't know how clear or how cloudy it is, you don't want that to be the first time on race day morning, because again, there's all these other things that you need to be doing while you're in the swim leg, mainly swimming, trying to remain calm, knowing what to do if people bump into you so that you can continue to have access to those swim skills and pacing skills. All right, so this is a little bit of a closer up view. So this is the Lakeshore Beach, and this is the sprint. Yeah, this is the sprint course. So this is more or less 750 yards. The exact location of the buoys may change, but they're measured on race day morning. So the swim buoys will go out early that morning. For the second race, they'll already be out on the water, but they'll actually move the buoys, and they get measured the exact distance from the start area to the first turn buoy, to the second buoy, back to the finish. They measure all of that. So it's going to be the correct distance, and the buoys are anchored in the water. So the only variation that you would have in the distance you're swimming is just the length of that rope from the bottom of the lake, which isn't very much. They may sway around 5 or 10 feet. But it's basically just a triangle. You're going to start on one side of the beach. Joella stands there and shakes every person's hand before they get in the water. And she counts you off. You don't have to remember your number. But you'll get organized here. I think I do have a picture of the start. And when your wave starts, you just start your swim. First turn buoy, they're usually orange. There might be a buoy here that's yellow, and that's just for you to help find your way so that there's something closer to where you're starting that you can sight towards. So 2 turns on the swim, and then the finish line is on the opposite end of this beach. And when you get out of the water, it's easy to see. There will be a big blow up, one of those event blow up arches, and lots of people standing there cheering for you. And then you're going to run up this or walk this grassy hillside just to the left of that path that you can see there, hopefully. And transition is this lower parking lot right here. And then this is the Olympic course. You can see it's zoomed out a little bit more. It's just a little bit longer in each leg going out and back, but still just 3 legs. This is going to be more or less a mile. Yeah, not 1.2. It's a mile. Then you can see more of the transition area. Parking on race day morning. Some people will park along this outer edge of the transition. So the transition is just this top part of the parking lot. So there's drive-in access all the way up to here, but people can park there. This whole upper parking lot will be open, and this entire parking lot will be open. When you come into the park, it's off the top of the screen. But when you come into the park and you head into the parking area, it kind of feels like you're really far from the race. And the first 1 or 2 times that I did the race, I would get like, it just made me really nervous because I'm like, where am I parking? I'm so far away from the race start. But you can see, even if you park in this furthest away spot in this upper parking lot, you're almost just as close to the race site as if you park at the transition. So get there early, get the parking spot you want. It's just easy access all around. There's no bad place to park, and it's a very short walk if you end up in this furthest parking lot. It feels far because you turn off the road at a much earlier point, but they're all close. Okay, so Monday, May 11th is the first practice swim. This, I'm not actually 100% positive if this is moraine. I think it is. I don't know if Joella can see it well enough. I've got other pictures though. These are all moraine. These are at the practice swim beach, which is at that different exit. We can give you directions, or you can find them on her website if you go to register for the practice swim. There's the bridge right there, and then again, the actual race is on the other side of this bridge. So I can't underscore the importance of coming if you're able to, even if the only reason you come is to, get into the water up to your ankles. Um, Questions so far on just sort of the logistics of the location and how the course is set up?
You said get there early. What time would you shoot for the Olympic?
I personally try to get there when transition opens
Okay.
because now if you're super experienced, you may not feel like you need to do that. But if you get there when it opens or within, if you leave yourself at minimum an hour before the race starts, you've got time to set up your transition, time to change your clothes if you need to. And for me, most importantly, is just time to just sit and chill before the race starts. The last thing I want to do is drive up to a race, struggle to get my bike in transition while it's closing, and then have 0 minutes before the pre-race meeting and the race starts. It's just too much activity for me. So I like to have as much downtime as possible. Um, if I could leave my bike there overnight, set up in transition, I would do that. Is one less thing to do in the morning. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to get there.
Is it a big race? I mean, a lot of people or
Joel, I can't answer that. I think there's a couple hundred people, like maybe 300 people registered across the 2 days.
It's
Um,
usually, we're trying to get to 400. We're already over 300.
oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
And as the race director, I want you there early. Um, it's very
of course.
important to get there because I tell this even to my kids that I coach and all of my athletes. You think you have more time on race morning than you do, and it goes by extremely fast. So you want to get there early and just get everything set up and ready to go. Also, for the swim that she keeps telling you about, the practice swim, you can also pick up your race packet there. So it's good just to come and you can meet a lot of other people that are doing the race and get your packet and get organized and have everything that week. And if you have any questions about anything, you have time to email or call me or send me a message, and it just makes life a lot easier.
yeah. And I haven't formally organized this with Joella yet, but we've done it before. We'll probably have like a little beginner, quote unquote clinic like at 6 p.m. The practice swims opens at 7. And so it's kind of early for people to be able to get there if they're coming from Pittsburgh or far away after work. So often we'll just have like a beginner clinic at 6 p.m. Just super basic stuff, even just having someone there with you either on a board or in the water as you get into the water and experience it for the first time. So just show up for the practice swim and we'll let people know at that time where to meet for the clinic. But it's a small area.
So I
And to
just have I just have a clarification question because like before I even knew that like the swim clinic was even like associated with I guess preparation for this specific race, like I had signed up for the open swim clinic on the 11th. I think it was like from 5 to 7.
yeah,
Are these the same things? Like are they or
the,
is the practice swim a separate thing like for actual race
no,
participants?
the practice swim that I keep mentioning tonight is what you signed up for on the 11th. These are two different events. They require two different registrations.
Right. I'm talking specifically about like because like online it's called like the Open Swim Clinic and it's from like 5 to 7. And I was just confused because you were referencing the start time at 6 or
Oh, I
7.
see. I see. Like I said before, I haven't organized with Joella. I'm going to do my own race preparation. So when I get there before 5 p.m., I'm going to get in the water at 5 p.m. and I'm going to swim. So I won't be able to help with any teaching or clinic operations until I'm done with my swim. I'm not willing to give that preparation up for myself. That's how important it is. But after I'm done, which should just be 20, 30, probably not 40 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, then I will personally be available as well. So if
Okay.
Joelle is going to start it at 5, then she'll start it at 5 and then I'll join when I can. So I wouldn't worry about that. I just show up at 5 and we'll take care of you.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Yeah. Nobody's going to get abandoned, but
How do you sign up for the practice swim?
If you go to the Joella's website, Get Fit Families, there will be a link for events. And there may be a direct link on the homepage for open water swim, but just go to events. You'll see an open water swim registration there. And there's all different versions. You can sign up for just one swim, or you can sign up, I believe, a season pass or 5 swims. She's got a lot of different options there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Anything else while we're on the, sounds like we're talking logistics. There will be time for questions at the end too. I hope it's 7:35-ish, so we're good on time. Okay, so that first part was all about the environment, familiarizing yourself with the area that you're going to be swimming in. We talked about getting to the lake, different parts of the lake, the practice swim. So if you're doing a different race, you're not doing moraine, just take that framework, or every other race that you do in your triathlon career, hopefully you do more than one. What we talked about for moraine, use that as your outline for how to prepare for a race somewhere else. It just gives you all the basic things that you need to know where to show up, where in the lake is it, what's the temperature usually on race day. If it's a swim or a race that's out of town, you might not be able to physically get there a week before for a swim, but maybe you can get there the day before and go to the park the day before the race. Or if it's a destination race, I did Escape from Alcatraz many years ago, which is obviously in California in San Francisco Bay. The race was on a Saturday, I think, and I flew out on a Tuesday and participated in 2 different swim clinics in the bay, not in the exact swim location, but like I said, it was the same water. And I could see the features. I could see Alcatraz Island. I could see Crissy Field, which is the exit for the race. So I did everything that I could to familiarize myself with the location where I was going to be racing by seeing it, knowing where to park, knowing what the features were, the start, the finish, getting in the water and feeling the water. So if you're at all able to do that, it really, really helps. I think that was one of the funnest swims of my life. And that was, I don't know, 16, 18 years ago. I still remember it as a highlight of my triathlon career. And part of the reason it was a highlight was because I had prepared ahead of time, not just fitness wise, but my emotional approach to it. I visualized swimming in black water with sharks and fish swimming underneath me when I was in the pool. I would close my eyes and swim and literally imagine that I was in a murky bay with sea creatures underneath me. It sounds silly, but it really, really helped me. So part 2, all about yourself. We're going to talk about some things you do to manage your energy, to avoid that sort of crowded elevator feeling. A stoplight analogy to help you know exactly where you are on this scale. A lot of people don't realize how nervous or how escalated their stress level is getting until they're at a panic level. And then it's very, very hard to come back down from that. So we'll go over a couple of tips to help recognize when that might be starting to escalate. Some of that anxiety or discomfort, I think it's okay to call it anxiety, even if it's a good thing. There's a range of stress, and you need some amount of stress to give you motivation to get out there and, get up early and do the race. And if you're talking about performing during the race, not just being safe and finishing and enjoying the race, but if you want to really perform well and perform at your best, you do need a level of arousal. I think that's the literature word that you'll read is race day arousal. You need some of that, but that arousal shouldn't be allowed to escalate, or you'll find yourself in a situation that's hard to recover from. So we're going to talk about all that kind of stuff in this section. And this picture here, this is from USA Triathlon Nationals last summer. I saw this shirt the day before at the expo. I had registered for the open water swim, which was on Friday, and then the Olympic is on Saturday, and then the sprint is on Sunday. And so Friday or Saturday, I saw this shirt and I just thought it was hysterical because the swim is my favorite part. If you've been around the triathlon community for, even just a short period of time, this phrase, the swim is canceled, delights so many people because, oh, I don't have to do the swim. Probably 80 to 90% of people don't mind too much when the swim is canceled. So I thought that was a hysterical shirt. But on Sunday, the entire race was canceled. So I ran back to my car, put this shirt on, and had he wasn't the race director, but like the head guy with USA Triathlon. I crossed out swim. Actually, Joella did it. We crossed out swim. We wrote race. The race is canceled, and I had him sign it. So it's one of my favorite shirts. But when you can approach an event with some humor and lightheartedness, it means that you're going to be able to access your skills. And if you are approaching an event and you just find yourself that you're anxious and you're nervous and you're dreading it, then, send me an email, send Joella an email, reach out to some of your friends and, practice sort of de-escalating yourself. Ooh, okay. This is a stoplight. And if you think of your emotions as, green is peaceful, calm, serene. You could just be there all day, think of situations that make you feel this way. Maybe on vacation, at a beach, in a lawn chair, sipping a cold drink with an umbrella in it. Other people have different things that make them feel calm and relaxed. For me, sitting on a sunny day, sitting in the grass, looking at a body of water makes me feel very calm. I guess that's similar to the beach. Go ahead and throw in the chat while we're talking about this. Think of a situation that makes you feel that way. And it can be anything at all. Just something that makes you feel peaceful and calm that you could imagine being in if you needed to sort of close your eyes and get rid of some work stress, take a little break and imagine yourself somewhere peaceful. Just throw in the chat what that would be for you. So then red on the other end of the scale, this is full on panic mode where the part of your brain that's trying to keep you safe is just screaming at you to like, get out of the water, get out of the water, grab onto that boat. You're going to drown. You're just really over the edge. You think that you might die. And the difference between a panic attack and, a heart attack, for a lot of people, it feels the same. And if you're in the water when that happens, it could potentially be the same. If you panic in the water and you don't have skills, number one, to recognize it and try and de-escalate, but number two, just physical skills. What do you do when you're feeling that way? Because the natural human instinct is to just run like you're being chased by a tiger, right? But you can't do that in the water. You're not going to go anywhere. It's not going to get you anywhere and you just burn up energy. So that's the other end, okay? The red end. And then yellow is somewhere in the middle. This would kind of be that level of arousal where you're a little bit nervous, you might be a little bit anxious, your heart might be beating faster, but you're okay with it. You're aware that it's going on, and it's still easy at that point to calm down or sort of de-escalate by joking with a friend or doing something familiar, like going through your race day morning routine. So green, yellow, and red. Some people will have an orange color or a lime green color or like a soda, this happens with the kids, especially if I just suggest it, but they'll say, I'm feeling like lemon Sprite or, feeling like, think of a green drink. Mountain Dew would be a green drink. You can use any sort of analogy here, but somewhere on this range of the emotional scale, you're on that range somewhere right now. So, ask yourself, are you super relaxed and chilling and having fun? Valerie at her son's baseball game, she just might be really enjoying that moment and is green. This guy here, this is a friend of ours, Brian, and this is at, I believe this is at a practice swim. I don't think this could be race. I think this could be race day morning, but just sort of look at Brian there, put yourself in his shoes or his bare feet in the sand there. tell me where you think Brian is on the scale. When you look at that, how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel red, or sorry, yeah, red, yellow, or green? Go ahead and unmute or just type in the chat.
It's green for me.
Okay. Because you're really comfortable with those situations and you have experience.
Oh no, he looks like he's in the green.
Oh, he looks like he's in the green. Okay, got it. Yeah. Anybody else? Does everybody agree with that? How about the dude behind him to his right in the black and red suit? What color do you think he is? Anybody? Don't be shy. Unmute. Type in the chat. Hi, Archie. Archie says hi. You guys are a quiet bunch.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really see him, but they
Okay.
all seem like they know what they're doing.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, that's totally fair. I'm gonna have more pictures. And we're actually gonna practice some more. And I need people to answer me. I'm gonna start calling on names. Um, I would say, knowing Brian, that he's probably like um he might be a yellow here. He might even be a yellow orange. Um, but I can see how, looking at him, if you didn't know what he might be thinking, that he could look like he was prepared and green and relaxed. All right, okay. So here's more pictures, okay? I need responses. I need 11 responses in the chat, at least. There we go. Okay, yellow, thank you. I don't know if I just wasn't seeing it on my screen, but I do see all these responses now. Oh, cool, thank you. I'm sorry, I apologize to you guys. I was accusing you of not responding. All right, so hanging out with the dog makes Ed feel peaceful and relaxed, sitting on your porch, on your boat, open road out west on my bike. Oh, these are great. And then 3 of you responded that Brian looks kind of yellow. Okay, great. So let's practice a little bit more. There's 3 pictures on this screen. In your chat, just type left, middle, or right. You don't have to do all 3, but just pick one of those. We already did Brian. So of the other 2 pictures, there's a person in the middle. This is Zach, Joella's son. You can look at it and say how you feel looking at Zach, or how you think Zach is feeling. On the left, there is a person in this picture, but we can't really see his facial expression. So just looking at that picture, how does that make you feel? Okay, yellow, middle green, yeah, middle green, left green. Okay, good. So these are all pretty relaxed. More pictures. This is me, by the way, with my brother and my cousin. That makes me feel very green. If you couldn't get green enough for me to express how I feel when I look at that picture. Green, green. This huddle down here. These people look stressed, or do they seem anxious? What kind of feeling do you get looking at that picture? Yellow. Okay, fair. Yeah, this is a group, and I think this huddle was at the end of a 500-mile tour. So they could have been feeling yellowish. They could have been feeling, grateful for everything they accomplished, happy it was over. They looked like they might be praying. I'm not sure what they were doing, but I really like that picture. How about this top one, swimming? I would imagine that a couple people here would say green, but maybe if you're not comfortable swimming yet, or if you haven't done a lot of open water yet, looking at this picture might make you feel yellow or even orange. Focused. Anybody feel yellow, orange, or red looking at the swimming picture? Green. Okay, great. Let's keep them going. I think I might have one more set of pictures. I didn't have time to go through and get scary ones. When I do this talk, like a full talk on this, I'll get pictures of sharks and, pictures of traffic, all sorts of situations to really help people get the whole range. But these pictures are slightly different. This is a friend of mine and one of my athletes that I've been coaching for 14 years. What do these make you feel like? Or how do you think she's feeling? Here she is coming out of the swim. This is at Olympic Nationals last summer. Green, green. That may have been for the last one. I think Ashley's answer is green. To me, she looks kind of greenish yellow. I can tell that she's already in her mind transitioning to getting to her bike quickly and getting on that bike, which is her real strength. Right, green. Yeah, glad it's done. So this is her coming to the finish line. Whoops. She was first, by the way. She was the first place finisher for women, probably top 5 overall. And she had a huge smile on her face. So green, maybe a little bit greenish yellow or yellow because of the arousal of race day. But, she's an experienced racer. Okay, so let's talk about some specific things that you can do during the swim, kind of like a little toolbox. When the swim starts, for me, that's the worst part of the race. If I'm going to describe anything during race day as being quote unquote bad, if I had to rank it, the start of the swim and the first 1, 2, 3 minutes of the swim is the worst part for me. Mostly it's because immersing myself in the water, and it just takes me a while to physically get my body warm. And it doesn't really matter if it's warm water or cool water, going from waiting, time to start. For me, that's a little bit of a startle. So here's how I start my races. And this wouldn't apply if your goal was to podium in your age group or set a PR. But what I do is I usually start to the side and to the back. A lot of people know to try this strategy. So you may be trying to wait and trying to be in the back of your wave, and there may just be a whole bunch of people there with you, like far behind the people who are in the front. But that's okay, because all of you are of the same mindset. But you can start behind or start off to the side so that there are fewer people around you. And when I start my swim, I take a breath, I go underwater and I just push off and I float. I literally just float on the water, face down. I don't know if you can see me. I don't know how much my body you can see, but I close my eyes, take a deep breath, float face down. I hold it gently and I just exhale, like you're taking a deep sigh on land. I do that in the water and I'm just floating. I'm not moving. I'm not trying to swim. Lungs full of air will help me float so I can just totally relax my body. I do that 2 or 3 times at the beginning of the swim. And then on that, second, third, or fourth time, I'll push off and then start gently. Hang on 2 seconds. Man, I was having such a zen moment describing that to you guys, and then my dog just went nuts. So you can start the swim slowly. You don't have to go into it full speed. You can stop swimming, relax and restart. For a lot of swim venues, you can stand, some places you can stand almost the whole way. At Lake Arthur, you can stand a decent way out and then it gets too deep, but then again, there are boats. But you can stop at any time you want. If you are comfortable treading water, especially if you have a wetsuit, so you've got a little more flotation, you can stop and tread water and then just take a couple deep breaths, look around, look behind you, and then you start swimming again as often as you want. Let's talk quickly about the bumping part, because I think that running into people or having someone run into you is one of the triggers that causes a lot of people to just kind of send them over the edge where they start to hyperventilate and need to get rescued by a boat or just have a boat come to them and rest, which is possible all along. But when someone bumps into you, kind of the natural reaction, if you're walking on a busy sidewalk in the city, someone bumps into your shoulder, your first response is kind of like, hey, what was that? Or, see who it was. Are they still standing there, kind of getting ready to defend yourself? When I was moved up to junior high school, this would happen to me all the time. Crowded hallways, people would bump into me, and I would immediately assume that somebody was getting ready to pick on me, and I was ready to defend myself. In the water, for the most part, unless you're a professional triathlete, like leading the swim, if someone bumps into you, it's an accident. They're not being aggressive on purpose. They're doing their own swim. They're trying to take care of themselves. The difference between the elevator situation and the lake situation is that in the water, you will move apart from each other. If you try to, not that I want people to fight in the water, but if you tried to have a boxing match in the water, you couldn't do it because you would move away from each other. There's space for everybody in the water, and no two people can be in the same space. So if somebody bumps into you, just keep going. That force of them bumping is going to cause the two of you to move apart, and you'll get your own space in like 2 seconds. Now, if it's a little more crowded than that, if you've got people on either side, which can happen if a wave behind you catches up with you and starts swimming past you, people that are in the front of the wave are not trying to get maximum space. They'll just swim like literally right next to another person. Or there may be people that don't have the skills to pick exactly where they're going, and they may just not be able to change direction fast enough. So if you start getting kind of, boxed in on both sides, if you're getting bumped around right and left, one of my favorite things to do is teach people to recover. Maybe you've heard of the fingertip drag drill in swimming, whereas you recover your arm over the water, you drag your fingertips over the surface. It means that your arm is low and your hand is physically touching the water. That's a really good guide. And what happens is you swing your elbow away from your body and you create, 18 inches, however long your arm is, plus this, you create this much additional space between your torso and whatever arm or leg of the person who's bumping you is doing. And again, you're in the water, so you're going to move apart from each other. So if you start to get jostled from the right, take your right arm and you're just going to swing wide. You're not going to react and push them away, because that just uses more of your energy and wastes your time and prevents you from continuing to move forward. And just that action of reacting by pushing someone triggers an adrenaline response. So think about creating a cocoon around you, and you're creating your own space in the water, and those people will just move away from you because they don't have a choice. That's the way water works. That's one of the best tools for being in a group, is know that it's not deliberate. Know that you don't have to and shouldn't respond. It's not, you versus them. It's you versus you. Like, you just control your own energy. And then if you gently, you're not swinging your arm to elbow them, you're swinging your arm because it's part of the swim. Everybody has to recover, but keep your fingertips in contact with the water, and those people will, you may physically move someone. And in doing that, you may even move yourself. You may turn away from the direction you want, but that's okay. All you're trying to do is create space for yourself. And that gives you that time and physical, literal physical space to try and keep your nerves down. One quick thing about sighting is you don't need to, quote unquote, see what's ahead of you when you sight. You just need to let the light fall onto your retina. If you right now close your eyes, look away from the camera, look in some other direction, and then open and close your eyes almost as quickly as you can. Just open, close. Okay, I don't know if you can see my eyes very well, but watch my speed. Open, close. Okay. For a swim stroke, for sighting, that's a very short period of time. But if you turn your head somewhere, open, close your eyes, that image that you just saw is still sitting literally in your retinal cells. They still have the chemical changes that occur when the light hits on them. I can still see a little bit of the shadow from 20 seconds ago, but also that message got sent to your brain, the part of your brain that interprets that. And you can identify what's in front of you after your head is already in the water. If you need more time to see, you can just do it again. So peek forward, open, close, keep swimming, process what you saw. I really like doing this drill with people in the water. It's amazing how much information you can get without having to disrupt your stroke by picking your head all the way up, looking around, taking 3 strokes heads up to see everything. That's the normal thing that humans want to do, again, because water is not our natural environment, but you don't have to do that. Practice that these next few weeks. Sitting in your house, if you're at a stoplight, don't do it while you're driving. Just turn a different direction, open and close your eyes. And in that image that's been sent to your visual cortex already, you'll note some details. Maybe you want a little more information about, there was an orange shape out there. For me, it was my sun pillow, but there's a color, there's a shape. It was off to the side. So what you're going to do is just adjust a little bit, turn your head there, and then open and close and gather more information. You can do exactly the same thing while you're swimming. And it really helps to, again, keep you calm and allow you to keep moving forward with your swim. You don't have to move forward. You could stop and tread water and just look around for as long as you need to and then restart. I think those are my 3 best swim tips for open water, and you need to practice them. Tip 1 is starting the swim by floating. So let the water cover your body. Take a deep breath. Exhale with a sigh and just float and relax. Do that 2 or 3 times before you start to swim. Tip number 2 is contact in the water. It's not deliberate. The natural thing is to respond to it, but if you do that, you're wasting energy. And the skill that you can use is to do that low recovery to create space for yourself. And then number 3, when you need to see something or see where you're going, which you do need to do in open water swimming, you don't need to pick your head up long enough to see what's there. All you need to do is get that signal to your brain. It's in 2 different parts. It's physically still in the cells of your back of your eyeballs. The chemicals change when light hits them. It's physically still there even after your eyes close. And the part of your brain that interprets things has a memory of what you just saw, and you can figure out what it was, figure out what else you want to see. All right. It's 8 o'clock. I will keep going, but the webinar was advertised for 1 hour. You will get a copy of the recording. Sure hope this is still recording. Yeah, we're still recording. You will get an email that has a copy of this. So I'm going to just pause here and ask what questions people have right now. I'm going to pull your beautiful faces back up so I can see you guys.
I just want to say a couple things. First, thank you for doing this, Suzanne. Both seminars so far have been great and very informative. From a race directing standpoint, I do want to remind everybody, if it's your first triathlon and you're doing the sprint distance, we do have a novice wave that you can go into that is followed by kayakers much more closely than what the open wave for the sprint distance is. So we can easily move you into the novice wave even on race morning. But if you want to go into that, you can simply email me or text me, and I can get you into that prior to race day. In addition to that, race morning, please, 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 we have a swim area. Get in, make sure you get your face in the water. Especially on cold mornings, it's really important that you feel what that water is going to feel like on your face, and it helps prevent you from going into any type of shock right when you dive in and you feel that cold water on your face. So just a couple of my tips. And again, if you have any questions or need anything, feel free to send me a message and I will get back to you as quickly as I can.
Thanks, Joella. Other questions right now? Nobody? Are you guys going to stick around for another 10 minutes while I finish up, or do people need to drop off?
I have a quick question. I'm I'm a strong swimmer. I've never had any issues in the water, but a few times I've gotten in the water and probably within like the first 3 minutes, I don't know if it's like a panic or just that I went out too hard or, and in fact, I remember my very first triathlon. I honestly, I thought I was going to die. I flipped over on my back and I took a few breaths And I remember thinking, well, you can do this. And it was a wildflower, also out in
Oh,
California.
yeah.
And yeah, as it turned out, I still did actually really well in the swim,
Hmm.
but it was just that first, and it was at the very first buoy. I mean, it was just right there when I first got in the water. Is that just like a cold thing, or
It
just did
can't,
I go out too hard, or what's?
it's probably a blend of several different things, and is one of the reasons why I try to show up for as many practice swims as I can so that I can experiment with different things. The exact same thing happened to me. It wasn't, I think wildflower is in the ocean, right?
And no, it's a lake swim in
So, like,
San Luis Obispo. Yeah.
okay. Um, the same thing happened to me. It wasn't my very first triathlon. I think it was my fourth, but only my second full triathlon. I did two relays where I was the swimmer. Uh, and then I did a very hilly, it was kind of between a sprint and Olympic. And then this was the fourth one that I did, and it was in a lake in New Jersey, and it was 60 degrees or less in the water. And I had an experience just like that. You know, I grew up on swim team. I was a competitive swimmer. It wasn't my first swim. And I panicked as well. And in my case, I think it was um, mostly the cold. And then as my body started to react to the cold, I got hives. When I got out from the warm-up swim, I had hives on my feet. There are certain people who they're called physical urticaria, just hives from cold or vibration. And so I had that on my feet and they were super itchy and that was weird. And then I started the race and I think that my body just started to react to the cold. And then that was an unfamiliar feeling for me. So that raises the anxiety level. And then I had a wetsuit. And so there's this constriction, not like it's tight like
Right.
a boa constrictor, but a constriction around your
Yep.
chest. So in the moment where the response to anxiety is to start breathing deeper, this thing's pushing on your chest, and all these things just start to layer on top of each other. And then if you're going out hard, that adds to it too, because your heart rate spikes and that releases adrenaline. Even if it's not adrenaline because of fear, it's adrenaline because you're trying to perform. Um, so a couple of things you can do to minimize that is, and not necessarily directing all of this to you, Merrick, but practice in what you plan to wear. So if you plan to wear a wetsuit, practice in that wetsuit. You'll hear people say that you shouldn't wear a wetsuit in a pool with chlorine. A wetsuit that's got a lifespan that's 1 month shorter is not worth risking your life over, right? If all you can do is swim in a pool, get in your wetsuit and swim in the pool because it's going to change a lot of things about your stroke, how your body's positioned, and what it feels like to go hard. Because when you try to breathe deeper, you need to know what that feels like to have the wetsuit around your chest. Wetsuits have different thicknesses and different flexibilities, and not everyone is going to fit you the same either. So you definitely need to practice with it. Another tip is, like Joella said on race day morning, is splash the cold water on your face. There's something called the mammalian dive reflex. You've probably heard stories where people are found in cold water who, should have drowned, but they come out and they are resuscitated and they're alive and they're normal. There's a mammalian dive reflex that happens when the cold water hits your face and it just kind of shuts your body down. So on race day morning, splash your face. If I'm getting into a cold pool, I'll splash the inside of my elbows, my elbow crease here, my face, and my low back. Those are the three areas for me that trigger me. So splash those areas that's a race day morning thing. But you can also prepare your body for that cold exposure by doing it in the shower. If between now and 3 weeks from now, you finish every shower cold, or when you wash your face at night, you only use cold water, you don't turn the hot water on, it's not comfortable, but it's not going to kill you. And there's a physical adaptation that your body goes through that will make a cold swim and cold water hitting your face feel fine. And I did a lot of that for Alcatraz. I actually took ice baths leading up to Alcatraz. I didn't do a lot, but I did a handful. I took cold showers. I didn't always do the whole thing, but I would finish with a cold shower. And I really, really think that helped me a lot in Alcatraz where the water temperature is in the 50s. And then the third tip, Merrick, is get your heart rate spiked before the race starts. People underestimate how much energy they use in the beginning of a swim just because of all the excitement. And then, there's people around you. Again, there's an instinct to try and get ahead of people or away from people. And even just talking about it, I can feel my heart rate going up. So before the swim, before you get in for your warm-up swim, you can do things like jumping jacks or do some short hill sprints in your wetsuit or jumping jacks or burpees. Do something to get your heart pounding. It's going to get that initial adrenaline spike out of the way. It's also going to physically warm you up a little bit so that when you do get in the water, you've already got some body heat going for you. So those three things can really help a lot.
Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions, or should I keep going? All right. You all look good. Okay. Let me just again make sure we're recording because our time limit is up. But we should still be recording, so we're good. Okay. So, whoops. Part 3. Come here. He's so funny. He does like fake stretching so I can't reach him. Like he'll do a little play bow stretch so his torso's further away from me. Come here. Come here. I wish you could all be here and pet him with me. Okay, come here, buddy. Okay. All right. So this last part is about doing it better than you currently do it. So a virtual Zoom and 3 weeks to race day, most people are probably not going to significantly change their swim between now and then. But there are some small tips that I can give you right now that will give you a few things to think about. So at least you have some direction about what to do between now and then, or your next session at the pool. In swimming, efficiency beats force all the time, every time. Water is about 800 times more dense than air, which means that it's harder to move through. And it also means that as your speed increases in the water, the resistance increases. I believe if you're a physics PhD or major, you can correct me, but I am pretty sure that I recall that the resistance increases with the cube of the speed. Might be the square of the speed. But if you go a little bit faster, your resistance increases a lot by, either the square or the cube. Faster still, the resistance increases again by another, cubed or squared amount of your increase in speed. So going faster is always going to be harder because of that density of the water. If you add on to that a swim that's not efficient, we're humans, we're not fish. I think I've got a slide on the difference between that in a second. Your inefficiencies are going to be magnified, which means it's going to take more oxygen, more heartbeats, more effort, more cortisol, more adrenaline to sustain that if you try and use force. The other really interesting thing, I kept using the analogy of being chased by a tiger. If we're on land, tiger jumps out of nowhere or somebody jumps out and scares you and you start to run, you're going to go faster. You think run, your legs move and you go faster. There's a very direct translation of effort in running on land into speed, forward speed. And it's the same with the bike. There's a direct relationship between the amount of force you put into your pedals and how fast you go. In the water, there's very little correlation between the amount of effort that you use and your forward speed, because in the water, you get false feedback. If you're stroking and the path of your hand, I don't want to talk about swim technique specifically, but as the arm moves through the water, it could be going straight down. It could be going out in front as you stretch and your hand can come up like that, like a stop sign. It can slide left and right. We call this petting the kitty, right? Your hand can wiggle around in the front. All of those things cause drag, and all of those things decrease your efficiency. And doing those things harder just slows you down more. Might go a little bit faster, but it's not the same direct translation. So always, always, always efficiency over force. During a racing event, your brain won't want to believe that. Your brain will be telling you something very, very different during a race. And it takes a lot of self-discipline and a lot of practice and experience to swim easier and you may actually go faster in a lot of cases. Definitely for me in a race situation, if I try to swim to match how I want to perform and how my energy feels, I will go slower than if I swim just a little bit slower because I'm not wasting as much energy. So always go for smoothness over force. So these are some things that you'll commonly hear. You'll see these in swim sets. I'm not saying that these are bad things to do. There's kind of a mixture here. They're all good at their own times, but some of these involve adding force or adding energy. Kick faster, stroke faster, swim more. On race day, the distance is fixed. But thinking about these in the context of during a race, kicking faster, yeah, you'll go faster. You're going to use up more oxygen. Stroking faster, you may or may not go faster. It depends how much that increased arm speed changes the rest of your stroke. If it makes your stroke shorter, then you're not going to go as fast. But in that race mindset, you're going to feel like you're going faster because your arms are moving faster. So instead of thinking about faster or harder, I think I've got some specifics. I've got some specifics in another slide coming up very shortly. I've only got a couple more slides. So efficiency versus emotions. I forgot I had this picture in here. This is Archie's very first swim as a big boy with his feet off the ground. You can see my brother's dog back here. That's George. And I got into the water. This is at a lake in Illinois near my brother's house. And just me being in the water wasn't enough to get him to come out. But when Archie saw my brother's dogs swimming around, they're hunting dogs, they're water dogs, he just followed the leader. And now he comes up to the lake with me almost every week and swims. So you might meet him next Monday, but if not, you'll meet him in other practice swims. Dogs aren't natural swimmers, which is why he didn't want to do it. I don't know what the dog efficiency is. I don't know that that's been studied physiologically, but dogs and people are not aquatic creatures. Think of anything that's made to go straight quickly. An arrow, a missile, a torpedo, kind of a submarine. They're all going to be longer than they are wide. They're all going to have some stiffness. They're not going to be floppy. And they're all going to have a tapered leading edge. And that's what makes them move quickly through air or water. So if you think about a dolphin, whales are kind of big, but they can move a lot of water when they swim. But, you know, a dolphin has about 80% efficiency. 80% of a dolphin's energy converts to forward movement. It's like a human on a bicycle. So a dolphin swimming in the water might as well be a person on a bicycle. It's their natural environment. They're going to go faster. We are not like that. Humans convert anywhere from about 3 to 8% of our energy to forward motion. That means that if you're not a very good swimmer, you're around this 3% range, improving your swim efficiency from 3% to 4% doesn't take a lot of change. It might take someone to tell you what to change, and it might take practice, but it doesn't require any fitness. It just requires knowing what to do to swim smoother, and you've increased your efficiency by 25%. And that's going to do way more for your speed than increasing your effort by 25%. So this is swim math. I'm trying to think what mindset I was in when I wrote this. But you can increase your efficiency. So go that 1% from 3% to 4% increase in efficiency. You've increased your efficiency by 1%, but it's by 1 percentage point, but it's a 33 or a 25% improvement, depending whether you're looking at the before or the after. I hope I'm making sense here. If you improve your swim time by 33% as a 2-minute per 100 swimmer, you're going to be swimming at 1:30. Now, would this really happen? I don't think it's one-to-one like this, but it's just an example. If you work on your fitness to improve your fitness by 20%, you're not going to get nearly as much out of it. Some checkpoints. I've got some pictures, so you don't need to memorize all these, but if you want to take a screenshot, you can, and you'll get a copy of the replay. These are some technique swim points. These aren't drills. These are things you can think about while you're swimming. I probably should have deleted the first one because you can't really think that and do it. But if you think about being tall, if you think about lengthening your body, if you think about relaxing your recovery arm, remember that fingertip drag, it serves a lot of purposes in open water swimming, helps keep you relaxed, it helps protect your space around you, and it saves energy. Hiding your legs behind your body. So again, this may be hard to control without someone looking at you. Sorry. I know people tell me they can't hear the dogs, but I can't hear myself. Come here. Come here. Come here. Buddy. Does anybody want a dog? Archie. Come here. Come. Good boy. Good boy. All righty. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, he drives me crazy sometimes. I'm going to show you some visuals so that you don't have to try to interpret this in your mind. But these are all things that you can think about, not things that you have to do. So think about being tall. If you're just standing here or sitting here and I say be tall, you might straighten your back up. If you have your hands raised, I say be tall. You might just reach higher. If you have your legs, dangling underneath you in the water, and I say be tall, you're going to think about straightening your legs out and just getting as long as possible. Every one of those things is just a little tiny change that's going to improve your efficiency by decreasing your resistance, by decreasing the drag that you create in the water. But it also increases the length of your body and decreases the energy leaks. So if you're too relaxed in the water and kind of like a noodle, you take a swim stroke, but as you stroke, you're sort of leaning towards that arm, or you go to breathe, and as you turn to breathe, your hips, I know you can't see my hips right now, but you kind of bend to the side to make sure you get to air. Every time you sort of break that center line of your body, it increases drag, but it also, that energy that you're putting into trying to move forward just leaks out of your body because it's not productive. So being tall helps stiffen you up a little bit. And honestly, wearing a wetsuit helps stiffen you up as well. And that's another reason why wetsuits can help some people swim faster. Hide your legs. This is what I was trying to talk about before Archie freaked out the last time. So people think that in order to have a good, efficient kick, you need to, kick really big or make lots of splashes. If you've ever been fishing, trout fishing, not a lot of people have, but if you have, you know that the fish in a river eat by sitting behind a rock and waiting for food to come around the rock in the current. Behind the rock, there's still water. So the fish sits there in still water and they're not using any energy at all. Zero energy. They're resting and they wait for food to come down the river and then they dart out and they get it and they swim back in. Your body is like that rock. And if you imagine the fish swimming from behind that rock, the fish's little tail wiggles, their little fins move, and it's wiggling and moving in that still water behind the rock, and they still move forward. The fish doesn't have to splash outside of the protection of that rock in order to move forward. That would actually be counterproductive. So when I say and write hide your legs, part of it is getting taller and longer, but also part of it is that you can kick in this shadow that's behind your body. As you move forward, your body creates a wake and there's stiller water. The water is more still behind your body. You can stay in that water and kick. It feels like you're doing less because there's not as much turbulence there. It's not as splashy, and it feels like a splashy kick must be better because you're working harder. But again, it's using energy and increasing your drag. So that's what hide your legs means. So here's some examples of how you can visualize it. And I'm just going to go through these. Top left, this guy's pushing off the wall. Main thing here is to look at like from his lower rib cage up. You can see that his arms are over his head. He's tall. His arms are as straight as they can get and they're long. Now, this isn't specifically how you would swim during freestyle the whole time, but just this concept of being tall. So from his waist up, he's very tall. And if you can just think about what tallness means, tall posture, getting your shoulders elevated. This lady in the middle, top middle, look at her left foot and her left hand. They create this long arc on the side of her body that's straight. So she has streamlining, and this guy on the right has it on the other side. Actually, it's just viewed from the other side. It's both of their left arm and their left leg. He's got a little more knee bend here, but this whole side of his body, all the way through his toes, her leg's a little straighter here. So from fingertips to toes, it's one long straight thing. You can imagine it as like a bow. Or if you lay on the ground, you can get in this position on the ground and you're straight. When you're swimming in the water, there's less feedback about whether you're straight or not because you don't have any resistance. So you need to visualize and practice what this might feel like. And you can have somebody look at you while you're swimming. You could swim very slowly and just kick with that rotated angle and ask somebody. They don't even need to be a swim coach to know anything about swimming. You could just say, do I look tall or am I crooked? Another example here, this woman is breathing. At that same moment, we can't see the above water view. So I don't know how much of her face is above the water, but you may have noticed at the bottom of that last slide was something that said sneaky breath. So she's turning to breathe and her head is still under the water. This guy's doing it here too on the lower right. He's breathing. You see this wave of water in front of his head. That is called the bow wave. As he's moving forward through the water, he's pushing water ahead of him. That water moves out of the way and it moves around the body. Now, if we were to look at this from the top down, that wave is not in front of his face. That wave is actually making a V shape. And I'm sure you could picture a ship moving through the water and you see these wakes coming off the ship in a V shape and they move further away from the ship the further back they go. And that's the same thing that's happening with this guy swimming here. So his head is actually mostly underneath the surface of the water, but he's able to breathe because he keeps his head low in that space and the bow wave helps him. This guy in the lower middle, I picked him because he's got a very relaxed recovery arm here. This arm on the lower right is relaxed as well. But you can kind of see this bow wave in this gentleman in the low middle. You can see there's a little mound of water that he's pushing forward with his head. And on the sides of his face and on the sides of his body, that water dips down and there's an easy air pocket there to breathe into. So again, I didn't want to go on about a lot of different swim technique, but these things, be tall, posture and stiffness, relaxed arm, okay, multiple advantages of this. Remember, it creates space in the water and it also helps reduce energy. And that sneaky breath, that one might be a little bit tricky to practice on your own, but you can think about it, keeping your head low while you turn to breathe. What do you see next to you? Try turning your head and not breathing on purpose. You swim, you turn as if you're going to breathe, but don't inhale. Just turn your head and see what's next to you in the water. And with practice, you'll be able to see there is actually a little dip in the water there, and that's what you want to stick your mouth into to get air, and you don't have to pick your head all the way up out of the water. All righty. We're not going to do small groups here. I think what I would like to leave you with is, for this part, just pick one part of your swim you'd like to work on. You may feel like, I don't know what to do, but go back and just think about these feelings. Is your arm relaxed when you recover? Do you feel tall in the water? Do you feel like you're entering the water smooth, or are you smacking and making splashes? Do your legs feel like they're hiding behind you and kicking in very still water and not doing a lot of work? That's probably better than legs that feel very splashy and grabbing a lot of water because they're outside of your body weight. And then the sneaky breathing, that can kind of be a bonus one. All right. Wrong slide here, but questions. We are at the end. Thank you so much for hanging in there, dealing with the dogs. I'm going to stop the share here so I can see you guys. There you are.
Yeah, thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. I could talk about swimming forever, if you didn't notice. What other questions do people have? Joella's still here on the call, so we've got race-specific questions you can ask her, or alternate opinions. You guys still awake? Here, we got some chat comments here. Jason went to a class. Ashley said thank you. You're very welcome. All good? Going once? Going twice? You're very welcome, Ed. You guys, like I said, you'll get a follow-up email once this is once I get sent the link, I'll download it, and probably tomorrow you get an email with a replay if you want to watch it. And there are 2 more of these. Next week we're going to talk about the bike and the run, what to expect on this specific course, and a couple of workouts that you can, even throwing in one of them at the last minute, can help you on race day, at least help you know what to expect. And then the final one before the race is going to be race day, like race day prep, race day routine, and just open question and answer. So, thank you. Appreciate you guys all coming. Hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.